Okay, great. Fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome. So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for the Vandy's monthly webinar series. As you're already aware, we have Thycotic joining us for the session today. And before we get started, I just ask that if you're in a noisy environment and using your computer's microphone, if you can just mute it so you can eliminate background noise. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to type them in the message window, or you can just ask. With that being said, I'll now turn over the presentation to Bill Grady to begin the presentation.
Martha, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to our business partner, Vandis, for allowing to talk to their customers today about Thycotic and how we address the pressing issues of cyber attacks in a very critical area, and that's privileged account management. And to get a little backgrounder on Thycotic, I'll be amiss, for example, I'm joined by two colleagues, of course, Mr. Steve Balber, who's one of our channel security channel managers, and also Denton Henry, who's one of our SEs in the field, lives out of the Houston area and supports Greater Texas operation as well, too. But I think what's very critical, the messaging we want to put across today is, the impact of cloud on security, specifically privileged access management, which has traditionally been a on-premise offering to protect, to audit, control, and really basically manage the access to highly secretive and critical data that is the main target for cyber criminals once they compromise those credentials of your key staff. And so getting into that, for example, and talking a little bit further, we've been around for 20 years, and we've been developing this software based in Washington, D.C. And I think it's how relevant we are, according to Gartner right now, as far as the #1 security priority. Privileged account management grouped, of course, with, I'm sure, very common issues you guys are looking at right now and challenges, all the way through, I'd say, we address number 3, 4, and 6. And we put together a packaging and an auditing and an approach that's a real simplified view of the state of risk you have towards your critical accounts that require PAM, privileged access management. And so that really they're key relevant priority for our listeners this morning. So let's talk about the impact. And the stats are very profound. When you look at 80% to 85% of these attacks are created through the breach of privileged credentials. The putting together a strategy and implementation and a format and a structure that's going to address that really talks about the biggest impact in your cybersecurity strategy overall. And remarkably, we see the lack of an effective PAM strategy across major industries and companies of all sizes. And what we're going to show today is how we address that with the linkage, of course, to the cloud, a major impact going across the board. Now, in looking at what we do and how we structure the company in terms of the flow, we're going to be talking primarily today about Secret Server. And Secret Server addresses the issues that IT admin and security administrators work with every single day. The auditing and privileged access control to that critical data that's granted to select individuals within the company and ensure those individuals at all times are getting access, but are they who they are, correct? And it kind of goes through, now we're addressing application control with Privilege Manager, which is a real key issue for a number of companies that employ a lot of contractors and a far-flung office, virtual office. What are people downloading? So, of course, Privilege Analytics, for example, is the what, the how, okay? And then ultimately, going further, the whole lifecycle management of PAM, and driven, of course, with Lightball as well, too, which is more of a DevOps discussion as well, too. We're putting together a tremendous package now we offer, and into the future kind of highlight that as well, too. But I think today we're going to focus on really talking about an entire experience on-prem or now in the cloud that can pull together, for example, tremendous amounts of data and focus and auditing capability that allows the CISOs, the security administrators, to really optimally look at whether or not what's the risk and how can we react to that risk when it comes to privileged account management today. And we're going to talk primarily the demos going to be around Secret Server that talks about the discovery of those accounts. How many service accounts are active or not active or shouldn't be active? And how do you manage those secrets? How do you delegate and control sessions? How do you do that quickly, easily, and build upon that with a wide-flung organization from maybe 1,000 people to the global companies we work with today? So I want to really focus and drill into that Secret Server discussion. But the basis of today's discussion and an underpinning of it is Thycotic and our venture and basically our move towards a cloud-based management throughout the entire company. And that's driven by the reality that cloud is absolutely disrupting privileged access management in a number of different ways. For example, when you look at some of the hard stats that are being driven through the organizations you represent or work with, 90% of some companies will have some portion of their apps or infrastructures in the cloud by 2020. And then you look at the IT budgets you guys banter and work with and control and negotiate all day long and through a quarterly basis and reviews to the year are committed to cloud solutions. But here's what's really striking. I think with our partner Vandis, 30% of new PAM deployments in the cloud by 2020. That's very striking to take a look at. So the movement is there. That's why Thycotic is there. So looking at that, for example, the next point is really, of course, this proverbial pebble in the pond. New technologies, new challenges, for example. And what we find, for example, cloud, because of the growth of these different accounts, for example, and the explosion of cloud services, how do you manage that and how do you work through that, for example? That's really key. And that's what we're going to talk about today as well, too. And now the other thing is, I think what we've seen, for example, is the ability for us to see the growth over the past year. 342% cloud business growth, exciting. Forrester, top rating for our technology. We're really putting it out there and showing people the alternatives they have beyond just on-premise, but now how you run your business safely in the cloud. So we talk about a little bit, for example, as a cloud-ready PAM. So you basically, today, we have the ability for Secret Server Cloud, which we're going to show demonstrations of, and then highlighting, for example, where the whole journey is going to be. Okay, this is where we also have, through your own current business model right now, IaaS or SaaS, and then privileged active monitoring like AWS. So platforms you're working with now, how we address this right now. And then ultimately, DevOps is going to come into play today. But for our sake of conversation, we're really going to focus on Secret Server. PAM as a service, key, and then PAM for the cloud. Controlling access to those assets. That's really key. As you have far-flung organization, how are you going to work with this internally and controlling that access? So, but here's the thing we're excited about with our partner with Vandis. Their relationship with Microsoft and our relationship with Microsoft is building a strong, secure foundation on a global basis. And you look at the stats of what we're delivering in terms of security and what Microsoft can deliver, there's no better platform for us to initiate our cloud offering and also share that with our business partners with Vandis as well as our end user. This is what it's built upon. Now, so really, this is probably not a news flash for a lot of people on the call, but this kind of really where we touch point all the way through, pay as you go, reflecting that business model that the CEOs want to embrace, for example. Now, hit the ground running, quick time to market, no hard software to maintain or buy, no big implementation cost. Of course, highly secure, and of course with the geo redundancy. This is the structure that's going to be the basis of our cloud offering with PAM. And here is above and beyond just talking about cloud is when I think the key factor of delivering that risk management evaluation, that risk management strength, and also the ability, for example, to control the POCs, but also see value immediately, and really to see ROI quickly. This is where we stand out. Full PAM implementations from the cloud, up and done by customers up and running in 3 days, with a dramatic cost savings driven to knowledge management, cost, for example, of implementation. This is what we're delivering in a full package, which we're going to talk about in the demo today. Now, before I change, we're going to skip into our demo. Was there any initial questions about some of this data I've already delivered today?
No, not for me.
Fantastic, thank you. Hearing none, I'm going to pass the baton to Denton to start our demo. Thank you.
All right.
You have control.
I believe so. I think I'm showing my screen now.
I can see it.
I'm going to share one slide real quick. Let me get rid of these controls real quick. I just want to talk about how Secret Server, how the architecture works. That way you get a picture of that. Secret Server is started as an on-prem product. As we've discussed today, it is fully featured in the cloud as well. It lacks none of the features. There's full parity. Secret Server itself is a Microsoft application. The front end is Microsoft IaaS webpage, and the back is a Microsoft SQL database that we use for storing, vaulting all the secrets. And then there's a distributed engine piece that this is the part that will have to be hosted on-prem either way. In the Secret Server cloud, these two pieces on the left, we take care of that in the cloud for you. All you need is the distributed engine piece, which acts as a kind of worker bee to receive instructions from the Secret Server. And then if we need to do something like rotate a password or discover a new account, that's the piece that does that in your environment. So I'll talk about your IT admins, your user base, how they're going to interface with Secret Server. One, they're going to go through a web browser. I mean, that's probably the most common way to do this. It is an IaaS application, so you'll go to a website, you'll be able to interact with it fully through there. If you choose, there's a desktop app and a smartphone app. Those are available for convenience. There's a couple different use cases where you would want that, but the most common way is through the web browser. API, we do offer API access into Secret Server. So if you have applications that have hard-coded usernames and passwords and you want to remove that by making a call to Secret Server to pull credentials, that way you're always getting the most up-to-date and leveraging Secret Server's remote password changing and stuff like that, you can make an API call into Secret Server and remove all those hard-coded usernames and passwords. And last, we offer two-factor authentication into Secret Server itself. So as you'll see here in a little bit, I'll log into it and you'll see me log in, and we would offer two-factor support for that. Anything that's radius-based, Duo, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, all those types of radius-based two-factor we support. So talking about what Secret Server actually does. So we're going to store usernames and passwords for privileged accounts in your environment. We can store other things that aren't privileged accounts as well. I'll show you a couple different templates we have, but you're going to need to kind of govern access to those accounts. That's the idea behind privileged account management, right? So we want to store those credentials, and then maybe we want to get to a passwordless state where we're not even exposing those even to the users that need them in their day-to-day use case. So we have session launchers and session monitoring for that. So you have a Windows domain administrator account. You need access to log into a server with that, but your boss doesn't want you to see that password or whatever the situation is. We can mask that password and then inject it into RDP protocol handler so that the session launches and the user never has to see what that password is. And that password constantly gets rotated by Secret Server, and it's something that's well protected and hidden. Watching on top of those sessions, plenty of use cases for that, different reasons you would want that. One, you may want it for troubleshooting. This account was used to log in 2 weeks ago and stuff hasn't been working since then. Let's go watch the video and see what happened. If we want to just monitor and watch in on our users anytime they're using that, whether they're users in-prem or maybe they're a contractor that comes in and does something for us quarterly, and we just want to make sure they're on good behavior when they're in when they're using our infrastructure. Alerts and SIM logging. We log everything, every interaction with a secret inside Secret Server. So anytime someone looks at a secret, unmasks the password, uses a launcher, watches a remote session, all that kind of stuff gets monitored. We can do email alerting and push that out to a SIM, Splunk, QRadar algorithm, all the big ones. Anything that supports syslog ingestion, we can pump that out too. Talk about distributed engine here for just a second. As I mentioned, this is kind of the worker bee for all the tasks that you may want Secret Server to do. Stuff like remote password changing, management of service accounts, and discovery of those service accounts. So when we talk about service accounts, these are accounts that kind of do automated tasks in our environment. They run those Windows services, scheduled tasks, stuff like that. And they have to have privileged credentials to do those things sometimes. And when we want to go and change the passwords for that can be scary because we don't know what it's going to break. So using Discovery, we can help you find those accounts in your environment, find what the dependencies are, what those service accounts are responsible for. And then as we change the password for them, we're updating those dependencies at the same time so nothing breaks. Everything gets done at the same time. All the credentials are spread across. where they need to be, all in one kind of uniform motion, and nothing breaks in our environment. And we'll go into that a little bit deeper when we get to it if we need to. But any questions about what I'm showing you here, about kind of what its functionality is and
Nope.
that?
Nope, I'm good.
Nope. Okay, I am done with the slideshow now. So I'm just going to actually show you Secret Server here. Are y'all still able to see what I got going on? I'll quickly run through this view here. Over here on the left, you'll see kind of a folder structure. And this in my demo lab, I have this broken out by different departments. You'll see I have admin services and IT services, and then I have different departments that you may have in your IT environment for, cloud accounts, database accounts. Down here, I have some server accounts, and then I have some subfolders for my Windows administrator and STEM standard accounts. And you'll see the pane changes in the middle whenever I pick a different folder. In the middle, you'll see some information about what's stored in here, the secret name, the template. We'll go over template. That's basically, this is what type of account it is. This is what type of secret I'm storing. These are Windows accounts, and they have different, parameters for that we'd want to store. And we can look at some different ones that show you what different types of validating that these are correct credentials, that the credentials that we're storing, just to make sure that you're not saying, well, I hope the password secret server is correct. Estimate a normal user would see request management inside secret server, say that the user needs to put an error for the food chain for them to approve this little widget down here. Session monitoring, that has session monitoring turned on, I'll be able to peek in and watch them, and I kind of just have some kind of ease of use. I most recently used secret, and then at the bottom, I'll take an example from my list here. Unless it goes to not how we see users creating most of this. You have a different type of secret you want to create pretty quickly. Secrets here. If I click view this, and then I'll just break down what's in this difference between these are here, and note that I have no way to see what this password at website. No, you're not able to view that. An option for your administrators to turn on and off to what I use this account for, what a secret administrators and owners would be able to users would only see the active secrets. These next couple ones are about secret policy, surely different accounts and different organizations. Domain admins accounts, we need to change them every 30 days. For those types of accounts, we have quite a policies. Our New York office or our LA office, cloud asset or whatever kind of rules that we set. This is saying that change the account password every 30 days, because I can go in and change this password remotely with this green button, or I can set up automatic password changing. Expiration window hit, then it will go ahead and do that policy, how long the password needs to be, what and I have this stop, and I go in here navigating a little bit, and it closes on me. Your server administrator ended the session. So that remote session that the customers or the customer's Active Directory that was saved inside Secret Server. So you can use that to putty into something. You can use it to right here. This was a generic server remote desktop to launch it. And to facilitate that connection. So this is just the server that's not in the cloud itself. Right. Okay. That's used to communicate with the directory server located. It functions to a local domain controller, yeah. Right. So I'm gonna switch from this account privilege user. This is not an admin user. Workflows here. So in full control of the company, get access to these privileged accounts. So one way that we can use it to integrate to, if you're using ServiceNow or something like that, VMs that align to a ticket number. That way you're net that way. Here, save, and now I have access to that. I show the password. So I showed them will allow me to unmask and see the password here. For this, I'll actually see that this password stuff gets recorded. So anytime somebody they put in the ticket number, all that stuff gets audited. That's approval. And for this, I'm going to need to put in for this. And that's going to go to console and refresh this to the ticket number. And then I'm going to say go back. I can view the password. This is so it's going to launch PuTTY for me. Specifically called whitelisting. So gives you the ability to whitelist a set of commands to this. They can't do everything with the contents of the folder that I'm in. You know, like exit the session. Okay. Our ability to go out of the environment or wherever and actually defend out what accounts exist, what's their response, and then directly. So you'll see at the top, we look at Active Directory, Unix systems, and VMware infrastructure. We can link in credentials and accounts. Get my network view here. I will see a list of servers here. I can point this at stuff somewhere. I can point this wherever I need to. IP addresses and find all my servers. These are all Windows local accounts. Some don't. I think unmanaged and then the secret QN. I can check these boxes and hit import or insert a password for them or use a secret server from then on. See a button that says view rules. I can set in this type of account. This is what I want you to do. I want you to use this account, change the password. I want you to folder so that I can get them that follow that rule set. And then bring in everything and not have the account, not have to create anything. Up at the top, you'll see these are some of these names get repeated. Here's generic 4 different services here. They all require this generic service account. Those we need to change the password on all these tendencies as well. And then domain account, this is pretty simple. We hook into them out there. Same thing with Azure AD, and we're able to. Any questions about that? I try to make the most sense of it.
Yes, it's good. Mission to operate. Is this a similar deal? Because I know you want to give specifics. How
That's my account, right? Yeah. So that's me logged in as particular window here is Elias Ruiz. You can yeah. You may set that up when you configure it and for no one to ever use, and everyone gets their own, and then the audit trail will go off. Uh, audit entries for that, yeah. Correct. Otherwise, it would think of the same account. With the service account piece that Strong Service Account has and Discover really helps ease the pain because they haven't changed service accounts and they know that it's tied to at least these two are just not sure of, and they're too afraid to change them. These are the pain to know exactly what you're dealing with these accounts, one view, and change all at the same time. Right.
set or, whatever.
Absolutely. So you'll see I have here have not changed in the last 90 days. Password. I can see what something that you haven't seen in this services. So anybody with can do this. Let me give you a little guide on how to use our data. And all of these are wherever you want to, and you can also run them as a thing. You can do that. One thing that their audit report, this is kind of a custom, a single user and a time frame. And I can see these are the green. I can see that this is all the action, and I can hit this expire now button. So this user leaves the company. I can expect passwords to something that even if those were they're all changed, they're all fresh. Yeah, I like that feature. Much like that feature that I can cover someone's tracks while they're hitting their servers, checking all that. Maybe you mentioned it. So regarding service, all the systems that this service account has access to account right here, and I have this is that generic one that our tendencies tab here at the very top. I have a couple out. These are all of the services that credentials to do whatever their task is. I can reorder one. I can set a delay if I need to, that if the service of roll everything back and go back to the old password, everyone having a fresh password. These are all same system. No, just the host name, and then as I get down here, there's generic .com. Got it. Okay. Yeah. No, no. Yeah. Yeah, I got a little close. Yeah. How is this by system? So however many IT admin are actually utilizing the product, that's who you're paying for. So if I had, right, and I had 50,000, you're paying just two admin. I guess the next valid question is, it's a great, first of all, it's a great question. Is Vandis would put together, I think, a very compelling proposal for it. And just to be clear, all I have are great. Oh, I can tell. Total transparency.
appreciate